What is up, everybody? Welcome to the MMA Engine and welcome to Propability. We're going to take a deep dive into the props for UFC Vegas 64. We have Amanda Lemos going against Marina Rodriguez, a 12-fight card now. We did lose the Almeida Christian fight, but we are down to 12 fights. Looking forward to it, as always, going through the props here with Uncle Weezy. Weezy, what is up? You looking forward to talk some props today?
Yeah, let's talk some props, man, because these fights aren't really great to talk about stylistic matchups and stuff. So maybe if we can find something in these numbers that just got released here over the last couple hours, we can find ways to stack cash tickets like flapjacks for this card. But I'm having a hard time getting reads on the money lines here. So let's hope that the time props present us with a little bit more opportunity.
Yeah, I know me and you were sitting there for like 3 hours. I mean, Bet Online was just taking their time with getting out these props. They actually just completely skipped the over-unders this week and went straight to like everything else, which was weird. So we don't have any over-unders out yet, which is just ridiculous because usually we get those first. But but we have everything else, which is, kind of nice there. So I say we get into it. Before I do so, if you guys can please leave a like on the video, subscribe here to the MMA Engine. And I also want to shout out the chat. We got Bob in the chat. What is up, Bob? We got Victor in the chat. We got Propaholic saying it's so annoying there's no over-unders. I'm right there with you. I mean, I would like to see what they open them up at there. We got Dave in the chat as well. What is up, guys? All right, let's get into it, Weezy, and we are going to start with the first fight on the card, and we're going to go with tomorrow's Vidal going against Ramona Pasquale. We have the over. We don't have the over. We have the fight goes to decision minus 230. The fight doesn't go to decision is plus 190. And it's a clear, like, either fight doesn't go to decision or pass. I mean, both of these fighters are just so bad where I could see the ref just stopping the fight because the fight is just so awful to watch. I can see like a situation like that. But Pasquale's finished all but one of her wins. Vidal's finished, I think, a win or two. Pasquale's been finished in half her losses. Vidal's been finished in her only loss. So I would look violence here, if anything. Also, I would look at the Pasquale money line, if anything. And I was telling you earlier, Weezy, like I need to get into a straitjacket because I am tempted on potentially putting money on this fight. But like I was talking about, like, is it really worth it? Is it really worth losing years off my life? And, it may hit, but at what cost? So probably not a good idea to put money on this fight, but the fight doesn't go at plus 190. I have some interest in it. Weezy, what is sticking out here in the stats?
Yeah, and let me just go and do my little public service announcement here. And that's, when you bet fights like this, especially if you lay juice on a fight like this, yes, you might win, right? But if you lose, what's going to go through your head is going to be something that chills you to the bone as a human being. It's going to be those times where you wake up in the middle of the night crying, wondering what you've been doing with your life. And then also, Brady, it's very important to talk about the other side too, because if you cash a bet like on a fight where Tamires Vidal is fighting Ramona Pasquale, it's going to embolden you to lay big units on the next Mandy Bohm versus like Victoria Leonardo fight or some shit like that. And you're going to be more likely to make that mistake going forward because you've had success betting on fights in the past where they probably should have stayed away from. And I mean, look, I agree with you, dude. If you look at that plus 190 and you put a gun to my head and you say, you got to take one of these sides. First of all, the first thing that you should always do in a low-level women's mixed martial arts fight is just take the plus money side. It'll hurt less if you lose. And then from there, if we look at the numbers here, these ladies have finished 8 of their 12 combined wins, crushing tomato cans on the regional scene. And they've been finished in 3 out of 5 losses, getting crushed by tomato cans on the regional scene. So we got a combined almost 65% finish rate between these two ladies. And we're only paying, 34.48% for fight doesn't go to decision. So, yeah, I mean, that would be the side to bet here. Am I going to be putting my hard-earned money on it? No, sir. Am I going to be putting my hard-earned money on the Ramona Pasquale money line? No, sir. Maybe as one of the legs in a greasy four-legger, if she's still sitting around plus 135, plus 140, maybe then. But, I mean, I'm staying away, Brady, and you should too, and everybody else should really limit their unit size when they're thinking of betting on a fight like this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think if you want, I mean, I think you could arb out of this plus 190. I don't see that lasting long because Five Dimes came out with lines just now, and Five Dimes has the fight doesn't go at only plus 120. So huge difference there.
Yeah, there you go, man. That's actually free money because you could probably get fight goes to decision at less than minus 190, right? At
Yeah,
minus 180, minus 170, something
minus
like that.
160 on Five Dimes.
Yeah, see, there you go. It's not bad. Yeah, go do it. Take that free money if you have both accounts. There's nothing better than free money. It's guaranteed winner on your Bet MMA Tips account. Just go do it.
Yeah, so that's probably a way you could look at it. But yeah, what a freaking fight. All right, let us move on to the next fight. We have an actual fight here, which is going to be nice. We have Carlos Candelario going against Jake Hadley. We have the fight goes to decision minus 190. The fight doesn't go to decision is plus 155. I think we talked about it a little bit last night on Stat Diggers, how we both think this fight is going to decision. And we talked about maybe improving that Hadley price tag a little bit. And by the way, Candelario money is coming in. Hadley is now minus 250. But the Hadley by decision line is like minus 125. No, thank you. But I think we're both in agreement this fight does go to decision. Candelario, I don't think he's that great, but what he is he's tough. He's durable. Black belt in BJJ. He's able to fight off submission attempts. I think the fight goes to decision, but minus 190, not enticing enough for me. But let's see what the numbers say on this one, WEEZY.
Yeah, and that minus 190 would probably be the side to take here. One, stylistically, Candelario, very difficult to submit. And two, stylistically, what Hadley really does do well is get on dudes' backs and submit them. And we've seen Candelario in that position with Ronaldo Candido on the Contender Series. We've seen Altamirano take him down, and we've seen him grapple with Altamirano. We've seen Tatsuro Taira on his back and having him in several bad spots that he got out of. So I think it's interesting that you look at a Hadley money line sitting around minus 250, and then the decision prop is minus money. What did you say about minus 125 for Hadley?
Yeah, minus 125.
Dude, think about that. Minus 125 is a 55% implied probability. Minus 250 is a 71. So they're basically saying that, 4 or 5 out of 6 times, that this guy is going to be winning by decision. And if he's that big of a favorite, then you would probably have to lean towards that fight goes to decision number. We have these guys finishing fights 11 of 19 times inside the distance in their combined pro careers. That's about 58%. And at the UFC level, it's only 20% of their fights that are finishing inside the distance. It's 1 of 5, but it's a small sample size, so we can't really hang our hats too much on that. But look, 4 of their 5 fights have went to decision. That's a 14.48% break over the 65% implied probability of the line, a 21.28% break over how these guys go to decision compared to what the division goes to decision. And we're only overpriced by about 7% here when we compare that 65% to the benchmark of like 58%, 57% for the fight goes to decision for this weight class. So am I rushing to the window to lay minus 190 here? Probably not. But it could be a decent parlay piece if you're putting together a 4-legger or something like that. I think fight goes maybe an over 2.5 here. Could be a great look. Candelario just very difficult to submit, but also very easy to take down and control. So I kind of see Hadley by decision being the best look here.
Yep, right there with you. Probably won't have a bet on this fight. But let's move on to the next one. We have Johnny Munoz Jr. going against Ludovic Sholinian. We have the fight goes to decision minus 190, and the fight doesn't go to decision is plus 155. I don't know. This one kind of scares me. I think, oh my gosh, minus 190 in a Johnny Munoz Jr. fight. Like, this guy is very dangerous on the mat. And I have a sneaky suspicion that this fight does touch the mat. So I don't know if I would lay that minus 190 there. Like, Munoz by sub is something I might be considering as well. But Sholinian's, I don't believe he's never been finished. Jack Shore was almost able to finish him, but didn't. But yeah, this fight hits the mat. I mean, you're going to be sweating for that minus 190. I really don't know which way I lean. I guess I would lean the fight goes, but I'm not really interested in laying that price tag. Weez, anything sticking out on this one?
Yeah, right now the fight doesn't go to decision is listed as a trifecta bet here. At plus 155 on the violence side, we're at 39.22% implied probability. When we compare that to the implied to how many fights finish inside the distance at this level, it's almost 50%. So that's a 9.92% break. And when we compare how these guys at the UFC level are finishing inside the distance, there's only a 4-fight sample size. So it's 50% of the time, but we're only paying 39%. So that's a break as well. And these guys are finishing fights at 0.86% better rate than what the division does. So it likes the violent side here. Stylistically, I don't think Ludwig Sholinian is finishing anyone, but hey, we've seen Munoz finished before, and Munoz has finished 9 of his 11 wins inside the distance, and he's been finished in 1 of 2 losses. So that's a guy who in 10 of his 13 professional fights, the fights have finished inside the distance, about 77%. It might be worth taking a violence shot here because this fight goes to decision. Yeah, I mean, stylistically, I think that this fight probably goes to decision more times than it doesn't. But overpaying by 14.66% over what the benchmark tells us, and the benchmark is sitting around 50%, right? Overpaying by 15% to go the full 3 rounds in a fight like this with a guy like Munoz, whose fights have finished inside the distance 10 of 13 times, and who's a very dangerous submission grappler and potentially a little chinny, even in his own right. I think I'd rather play that doesn't go to decision side. The analytics like it, but we can't get too wrapped up in these numbers here and here because it's only a 4-fight sample size. But compared to the benchmark, we're getting almost a 10% break at that plus 155 number. So it makes it a lot more intriguing than that minus 190 for the fight goes.
Yeah,
and,
I think
and actually the VIG is saying that there's an ARB available here on 5 dimes as well. So there must be a crossed market again.
Yep, there is. So 5 dimes has plus 105. Fight doesn't go.
Yeah, so that 155 is a good one. It's a good bet. You can ARB out, probably get a little bit of free money, and you don't have to commit to either side. And I don't know exactly what it is that they're seeing, but they're probably just pricing it a lot closer to the benchmark 5 dimes than what Bet Online is doing. Bet Online's kind of like taking a side here and saying, yeah, we think this goes to decision because Sholinian's never been finished and Munoz is the favorite.
Yeah, but it's kind of one of those things where Munoz is a pretty big favorite, and you got to think if Munoz is having success in this fight, it probably means it's hitting the mat, and the guy's no joke on the mat. But yeah, I'm with you. I think I would lean plus money if anything, but it's not something I'm really like running to the window for.
Agreed. I'm not running to the window either, man.
All right, and yes, the next fight we have Polyana Viana going against Jin Yu Fry. We have the fight goes to decision minus 260. The fight doesn't go to decision is plus 200. I mean, this is pretty easy. I mean, if anything, it's the fight doesn't go for me at plus 200. The reason being is Polyana Viana is a minus 127 favorite. That means she's favored to win the fight, and she's a finisher. She's not a minute winner. She doesn't win minutes. She flops to her back. She's a horrible minute winner. If she wins this fight, it's going to be by a submission or a TKO. It's going to be a finish. So the spot I was waiting for, WEEZY, was the finish only, aka the scorecards equals no action. But Bet Online was all over it. They have it like minus 260. So I'll have to see what FanDuel and DraftKings puts that out at. But I'm not laying minus 260 fight goes to decision in a Polyana Viana fight. I think if you like Polyana, you better inside the distance at plus 275, which is actually interesting. And if you like Jin Yu Fraud, you better buy decision, which would be like plus 125. It's terrible. But those are kind of the ways I play it. I wouldn't really mess with the props on or the totals on this one, WEEZY.
Yeah, and you can also look at that Jin Yu Fry decision only prop, because if it stays standing, maybe she wins the minutes standing, even though Viana's a decent striker in her own right. I kind of feel like even the Viana money line's not a bad look here because she's obviously the better submission grappler. I mean, there's no question about that. She's obviously the better finisher. There's no question about that. She's younger. But when you watch them on the feet, you don't even see Jin Yu Fry throwing a lot of volume, and she doesn't throw with a ton of power either. So I think that even Viana has potential to maybe even win some minutes here on the feet. But you're absolutely right, dude. If you look at the fight doesn't go to decision at plus 200, that's overpriced by 2.84% based on the benchmark. Now, that's not a big overpricing because you could have an overpricing on both sides of 2.84%, and that would fit right into where the VIG is normally going to be at an opening time prop line. So there's nothing wrong with overpaying by 2.84%. It tells you that it's being pretty much fairly priced. But you're getting an 8.33% bump when you compare how much these ladies don't go to decision at the UFC level to the implied probability of the line. And we've got 41.67% there compared to 33.33. And these ladies are also finishing at a much better rate than what the division does, because the division finishes at a 30.49% rate, but we see them finishing at a 41.67% rate. So, and then with Viana, you got a young lady who has finished 12 of her 12 wins inside the distance, and she's had greatness finish inside of her in Colby Covington, Chaos Covington, one of the best wrestlers in the entire UFC. So that's some finishing that we also have to talk about here. That's in Viana's favor. And we got Jinyu Fry has been finished in 3 of 7 professional losses, Brady. So yeah, I mean, like, that plus 200 is pretty intriguing. And we've seen Jinyu Fry armbarred by the likes of Kay Hansen before. And we've seen Polyana Viana just be able to get that technique because it's her specialty. It's what she does best. She works from her back. She tries to finish fights. She's not concerned with winning minutes. So plus 200 would be the side to bet here, because you can see that the fight goes to decision, overpriced by 2.72%. This one's overpriced by 2.84%. So as I mentioned, they're both overpriced by almost an identical amount, but you've got the analytics way more on your side on the fight doesn't go side at plus 8.33% and plus 11.17% in compared to the fight goes side. And in the fight goes, Brady, you're laying 2.6 to win 1 when you're only laying 0.5 to win 1 on the fight doesn't go side. So yeah, it doesn't seem like there's any reason to play that minus 260.
Yeah, it looks like there's another ARB situation on 5 Dimes.
Wow.
5 Dimes has the fight doesn't go for this fight at plus 145.
There you go. Another one. So that's one. That one is way underpriced. Once again, the fight doesn't go to decision line.
Yeah, the only concern with that is, like, Jinyu Fry, I'd be shocked if she finished anybody. Like, I'm taking a look at it now. The last time she knocked somebody out, which was her only knockout, was back in 2013. It was a head kick.
Wow. Dude, that's almost 10 years ago.
Yeah, and she's like 38 now, I think. She's old.
Yeah, she's getting up there for sure. Yeah. 3 of 11 wins inside the distance, and Polyana has only been finished in 1 of 5 losses. So, she's durable. So, yeah, it's definitely that fight doesn't go. But, I mean, I think the cheekier way to play it would be like a Viana finish only prop, Viana by sub, Viana inside the distance. Those are all different ways to look at it. And then a Jinyu Fry decision only prop that could potentially be at plus money might be worth looking at.
Yep. So I think there's a lot of ways to play this fight for sure. But I think we would much rather be on that plus 200 fight doesn't go than laying minus 260. I think we can both agree on that.
Absolutely.
All right. Next, we will move on to, this was one that I had my eye out on. I was hoping for plus money on that fight. Doesn't go. Didn't get it. We have Benito Lopez going against Mario Bautista. We have the fight goes to decision minus 115. The fight doesn't go to decision minus 115. This is one of those cases where neither guy has ever lost a decision. Both guys have been finished in all their losses. That kind of stuck out to me. It looks like on 5 Dimes, they do have the fight doesn't go to decision at plus money. I think they have it at like plus 105. Let me double check. Yeah, 5 Dimes has the fight doesn't go at plus 115, actually. I would love that. But yeah, on Bet Online, the fight doesn't go is minus 115. They're about to pick them.
Yeah, it's an interesting spot here because the first thing that we look at that wants us to look at the violent side is the fact that all 3 of these guys' losses right here have been finishes. So Batista's been finished in both of his loss. Lopez finished in his only loss. And these guys are decent finishers. They finished 60% of their combined professional wins, 65% finish rate as professionals combined in their 23 pro fights, and we're paying 53% for the fight doesn't go. Also, these guys have finished 50% of their UFC combined fights. Now, they're only finishing at a 28.57% rate in their wins, but they're being finished at a 100% rate in their losses. So that is very interesting. And both of these guys have good finishing rates outside of the UFC, especially Benito Lopez, who finished 5 of his 7 pre-UFC wins inside the distance. So I do like the violent side here. And like I said, we're only overpriced by 4.35 here for the Fight Dozen Co. as compared to the being overpriced by 2.63% here at minus 115 for the Fight Goes. So it's telling you that the bookies are just shading it ever so slightly in the direction of violence here. And then we can see that these guys' finish rates at the UFC level at 50%, we're paying 53.49%, and that they're finishing at a 0.86% rate higher than what the division does, which is just under 50% at about 49.26 or 24. So these guys, that Fight Doesn't Go is fairly priced. You're not really getting any breaks, but you're not overpaying either. And then you got a situation where Benito Lopez hasn't fought in 3 years.
Yeah.
So we just, look, we don't know where this guy is at. We don't know if he's been training. We don't know if he's put in the road work. He could show up 5 pounds heavy on weigh-in day, and that would be a great movement towards violence, because catchweight fights always finish at a higher rate overall than non-catchweight fights, which just means fights that are scheduled up 5 pounds or 15 pounds in the case of the heavyweight, or when somebody misses weight. Because when somebody misses weight, it's usually not just they're like eating a bunch of pizza. Usually means there's an injury. They couldn't do the road work. There could have been an illness. There could be a number of different reasons why somebody misses weight. And we haven't seen Benito Lopez even try to cut weight in over 3 years. And this guy hasn't had any fights even scheduled in the last 3 years. So who knows where this dude is at. So, I mean, I think it would be irresponsible to bet the Fight Goes to decision here. You got 100% loss rate in their 3 combined losses as professionals. And you've got a 3-year layoff for Benito Lopez. And you got a guy in Batista who really looks to be that he could potentially be special and make some noise in this division. He's got all the tools. He's got the right frame. He's tough. He's well-rounded, and he's getting some good wins too. So, I think Batista wins this one. I think Benito Lopez's underdog line is just going to get fatter and fatter as the week goes on, because people just don't. I mean, there's a lot of missing information right now with Benito Lopez.
Yeah, there is for sure, and that line is starting to move. What is just curious? What is the Fight Doesn't Go decision plus 115? What would that do to things?
Plus 115 would be just the opposite here of minus 115. It would be like a 46.51%.
Yeah.
So it's a big difference. You know, whenever you get that little bit on either side of 100 is where you see the biggest shifts in terms of the implied probability. Like the difference between like a minus 900 and minus 1,000 implied probability is next to nothing. But like, you know, plus 100 and minus 150, that's a difference of 10%. So the closer we are to evens, the wider the jumps in implied probability as we take those small ticks.
Yeah, I would love that plus 115. So I'm hoping maybe some other books get it out at a better price. But yeah, Bet Online just put it at minus 115 there. So we'll see if it moves throughout the week, or we'll see what FanDuel and DraftKings gets it out at. All right.
Yeah, and Brady, at plus 115, it's a very small trifecta bet. All 3 analytics are just shaded a little bit in your favor. So nothing wrong with the plus 115 for this one for violence.
Even better. So I'm hoping some other books get it out at a better price. All right. Move on to the next fight here. We have Miranda Maverick going against Shanna Young. The Fight Goes to decision minus 130. The Fight Doesn't Go to decision is plus 100. And spot I was really looking out for this week was Miranda Maverick inside the distance. I actually played it last time they were supposed to fight, got it at some decent plus money, and was going to bet that again. But I saw the Fight Doesn't Go to decision opened up at plus 125. And there wasn't really much difference between the inside the distance and the Fight Doesn't Go. So hopped on the Fight Doesn't Go there. It has moved a little bit, still at plus money, plus 100. And Maverick inside the distance is plus 120. So I still think the best move would be that Fight Doesn't Go, just in case Shanna Young was to somehow pull off the upset. But yeah, I do like violence here. I think Maverick finishes Young. Maverick finished her the first time in the first round. And Maverick's ever so improving. Her striking is improved and her grappling's legit as well. And yeah, I think Maverick inside the distance or the fight doesn't go is the look here, but more so leaning that fight doesn't go. Weezy, what's sticking out on this one?
Yeah, so we can see here for like the fight goes to decision, we're getting a 2.74% break over the benchmark for the division, and we're overpaying by about 9.26% where the fight doesn't go to decision in comparison to the benchmark, which means that obviously the bookies are leaning it towards violence and the bettors are taking it even further in that direction right now. So the sharps are definitely betting violence in this spot. One of the reasons that they would do that is Miranda Maverick already finished Shanna Young in the first round, the first time that they fought in Invicta. So we see that at the UFC level, these ladies' fights have finished inside the distance 5 of 9 times. That's 55%. Here, we're still only paying 50% at plus 100. So it's a little bit of a break there. And it plays into the narrative of what the bookies are already telling us with the money line, Brady. The money line is what, minus 700 for Miranda Maverick or some shit. So at minus 700, they're telling you Miranda's got an 87.5% chance to shave ass out there. And then you got Shanna Young, who's had her ass shaved in 2 of 4 professional losses, one of them by Miranda Maverick, the other one by Sarah Too Sweet Alpar. On the,
and Egger got her as well.
Oh, and Egger. So so my stats are actually wrong.
No, I think the Maverick fight was a.
Oh, was that an exhibition?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that's why it's not listed there. But still, 5 of 9 finishing inside the distance. So we are shading it towards violence here. Yeah, I think the fight doesn't go is probably the bet. And where did it open? Did it 125? Was it?
Yeah, 125.
So at 125, we were only overpaying by 3.7% there, getting an 11% break over their over the divisional finish rate, or over the implied probability of the line, and a 15% break over the divisional finish rate. So that was a lot more appetizing, but it's still bettable here. And if that's your read, that Miranda kind of goes out there and just shaves this girl's ass, then plus 100 isn't a terrible look. We're overpaying by 9.26% compared to the benchmark, but we see much bigger overpayments, especially when we see a line sitting in minus 700 than that one. So there's still time, in my opinion, if you're on that violent side, to get on the Maverick inside the distance or get on the fight doesn't go to decision. I'm going to be staying away. I'm not betting the fight goes. Don't get me wrong. At minus 130, that's not nearly rich enough. We're only getting a 2.74 break over the benchmark, and we're overpaying 12 and almost 15% when we compare it to the analytics. So no thanks on non-violence. Violence would be the lean. I'm not making the bet, but it's still bettable at this price.
Yeah, it looks like 5 Dimes has it pretty similar as well. 5 Dimes has minus 105. So the lines are pretty close on that one. But yeah, I'm leaning violence. I think Maverick does go out there and probably shave her ass. All right. We'll move on to the next fight. Yeah, this was the fight we were refreshing all day, Weezy. We were hoping for a plus money line. I thought we were going to get it too, because Sholinian, this guy just keeps going the distance. Minner went the distance in his last fight against Hall out of nowhere. And Bet Online said, no, fuck you guys. They opened up. The fight doesn't go to decision at minus 230. And I was confident we were going to get plus money on it. But no, minus 230 for the fight doesn't go to decision. The fight goes to decision is plus 190. And at that point, you can't bet that. I mean, I think this fight finishes, but you can't bet minus 230. What I did was I took a shot on the Minner scorecards equals no action, plus 150. I am on the Minner side in general. I'll also be looking at the Minner submission prop. The reason I don't mind that is because Sholinian, he has a lot of finishes, but he's finished a lot of bums. And in the UFC, he hasn't even attempted one submission. Whereas Minner, I mean, he's attempted so many submissions already. So I think I could see a scenario where Sholinian does lay and pray for 3 rounds. I think that's on the table. So I took the Minner scorecards, no action, but I was really hoping for a playable line on this fight. Doesn't go to decision, but we are not getting that, and we're not getting anywhere close to that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not surprising when you look at this row of data right here, Brady, the one that I've got highlighted. 51 of 64 combined fights for these two killers have finished inside the distance. That's almost 80%. That's like a minus 400% bet or minus 400 betting line if you were to correspond it to an implied probability. They're even getting finished at a higher rate in their losses than they are in their wins, 82.61%. So 80.46% finish rate in 87 combined fights. But more importantly, down here at the UFC level, it's different, man.
Yeah.
It's 4 of 9. You know, that's a 44% finish rate. We're paying 70%, dude. That's not bettable. Look, we liked the violence in the Miranda Maverick fight. So let me take you back there for a second. That's overpriced by 9.26% when we compare it to the divisional benchmark. Look at this one. Overpriced by 26.73% when we compare it to the divisional benchmark. And guess what? That finish equity, especially early in the fight, is all on Minner. It's all on Minner. Sholinian Nuerdanbieke isn't, subbing anybody that isn't a Chinese can. Okay? So
yeah, I agree.
He's so much worse of a submission grappler than Darrick Minner. It's not even funny. Minner is really, really talented and really dangerous on the ground. So, but dude, what we've seen Sholinian with good submission defense, really good top game, and the ability to just really lay and pray and win a ton of minutes on the ground and not do much.
Yep.
At plus 190, we're getting a 22.55% break when we compare to the divisional decision rate, which is, you guys, it's 57%. 57% divisional finish rate right down here, or divisional decision rate for 145 pounders. We're paying 34% here. That's a huge break. These guys are going to decision at the UFC level at a 21% rate better at 55.56% compared to that 34% implied probability of the line. And these guys are going to decision at only a 1.47% less than what the division does. So if you're chasing violence here, maybe bet the under 1.5. And then that way you get Minner's best win condition there. Or even fight ends in round 1. Because it's hard to spam that many submission attempts and then still be dangerous in the second and third rounds. You're going to be exhausted. You're going to have used up all of your energy trying to finish and squeeze all these submissions. So I actually like that plus 190. And because we've seen such a propensity of these guys to finish inside the distance in their careers over 80% of the time, we might even be able to get plus 200 or plus 210. And in that case, we could just say as bettors, hey, you know what I'm counting on here? I'm counting on Sholinian lay and pray for 3 rounds. And if I'm wrong, I'm on that plus money side. It won't hurt nearly as much as it would. Can you imagine if you lay minus 230 for the fight doesn't go to decision and Sholinian gets a takedown in every round and he's just staying safe from the submissions? You would just be like screaming at your television. But it's absolutely a possibility. So one place you're laying 2.3 units to win 1, and the other one you're laying like 0.55 units to win 1. It just seems like both of them actually have a path. And if you bet that fight goes, maybe also sprinkle Darrick Minner by first round submission. And if at plus 600, you wouldn't have to bet much there in order to get what in my opinion would be the best chance of this fight finishing inside the distance, and that's plain and simple an early submission by Darrick Minner.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's one of those spots where the line is clearly off by a mile, but I can't touch the fight goes. Personally, I think this fight does finish. But yeah, I mean, the line's off by a mile there. Even on 5 dimes, it's off. 5 dimes has like minus 180. Fight doesn't go to. I wouldn't even play it at minus 180.
Yeah, it's hard laying that much, man. It really is. It really is hard to lay that much. So, yeah, man, I think that I'm going to see where this goes. And I'm going to actually look at that. If I can get better than plus 200 for fight goes to decision here, I might actually take a small shot at it. And I'm also looking at Minner round 1 sub. Minner finish only. Is the finish only still at plus 150, Brady?
Yeah, and then the round 1 sub is plus 600, and then round 1 is plus 300.
Yeah, man. Wow, I like that a lot, dude. That round 1 sub is plus 600.
Yeah, I mean that's how he wins, I think.
Man, I just want to throw a unit on it and try to hit a fucking home run. And like I said on Stat Diggers, dude, even if you lost that bet, I guarantee there's going to be 3 or 4 submission attempts where you're going to be like, oh my God, I think he's got, it's going to be close. So, yeah, that's what I'm going to be keeping an eye on for this one.
Yeah, sounds good. Another fight where there's a couple of ways you can play it, but I would not recommend laying the minus 230 on that fight. Doesn't go. You're just overpaying by a mile. The bookies are all over it there.
Yeah.
All right. Let us move on to the next fight here, which is canceled.
Yes, Christian Almeida canceled. Would have loved the under 1.5 in that fight, but I think the Grozny native in Maxim Grishin either probably had visa problems or he's just a smart guy and just said, I'm not feeling well. I'm not going to make the trip.
Undisclosed injuries.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And undisclosed injury from a man of high intelligence for not taking this fight, dude. Jailton Almeida. 205ers and heavyweight should be seeing this dude in their nightmares.
Yeah, veteran move there by Maxime Grishin, just a veteran move. But we have a spot, WEEZY, where I'm kind of interested, man. We have Grant Dawson going against Mark Madsen here, and we have the fight goes to decision is minus 190. The fight doesn't go to decision is plus 155. Yeah, I'm kind of tempted on violence here. Grant Dawson, this guy is a finisher. This guy's dangerous. Really anywhere the fight goes, he has power. He has a phenomenal submission game. Mark Madsen is a guy that, he's gassed in the past. He gassed really bad against Austin Hubbard. And if Austin Hubbard had any finishing ability at all, he would have got him out of there in that third round. Grant Dawson, I think his cardio has been, questionable at times, but I think he's improved it a lot. He is coming in on short notice, but I think it's going to be a very grappling, heavy-paced fight. And if it is, we could see Mark Madsen slow down and Grant Dawson potentially get a finish at some point. Grant Dawson is a pretty big favorite here. Mark Madsen does have some power. He hasn't really shown much finishing ability in the UFC outside of finishing his UFC debut, but Dawson has been finished in his only loss, and it was by knockout. So, yeah, this is a spot where I'm really eyeing that plus 155 fight doesn't go to decision, which is on BetOnline, and I'm actually curious to see where Five Dimes has this one. Five Dimes has the fight doesn't go to decision for this fight at plus 140. So it is kind of close, but yeah, plus 155 is kind of sticking out to me, WEEZY. What is the stat saying on this one?
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure we were doing Stat Diggers the last time Dawson fought, and I remember it was the Dawson-Gordon fight, and we were like, why is the fight doesn't go to decision at big time plus money here? This guy Grant Dawson doesn't do anything but finish his opponents, right? Yeah. And I'm pretty sure we both cashed on that. I'm gonna have to check my Bet MMA tips, but betting Grant Dawson fights not to go to decision is a good long-term strategy to be profitable. Look, this guy is a very, very, very dangerous grappler. And one thing that we haven't seen at all is anybody that's like, yeah, I'll grapple with Madsen. And Dawson's going to. Dawson is absolutely on Madsen's level. Maybe not in the, with his Greco-Roman wrestling, but this guy's ability to get people to people's backs is next level. And he never stops selling out to do that. Here's the other thing. I think he's overmatched on the feet, Grant Dawson here. I think he's going to have to grapple. And let's not forget, Brady, short notice for one Grant Dawson here too. And his game plan is a very exhausting, taxing game plan. And when you watch the film on Madsen pre-UFC, this guy's a savage. He's an absolute savage, and he can absolutely finish you. If you put your head in the wrong spot and he gets that power guillotine, you're going to sleep. I love this fight doesn't go to decision here. Now, we're getting an 11.35% break over the benchmark for the division. The benchmark for the division, you guys, is at 50.56%. We're only paying 39.22% for the implied probability at plus 155. These guys are finishing at a 50% rate at the UFC level, at a 72% rate as professionals. Neither one of these guys has ever lost at the UFC level. So they've been finished in all their losses. There was a knockout loss a long time ago for Grant Dawson. And I don't even know who it was against or whether it was even relevant, but it was a long time ago. But yeah, man, the violence side, the prop template loves it. And if you're looking for the fight goes to decision here, you're laying minus 190. You got to bet 1.9 units to win one. And you're overpaying 16% in comparison to that benchmark, which is like a 49% and change decision rate for this 155-pound weight class. It's too much to overpay. And it's especially too much to overpay when the guy who's supposed to win this fight 2 out of 3 times has finished 16 of his 18 professional wins inside the distance. Madsen versus Dawson plus 155. Fight doesn't go to decision is probably a bet I'll be getting to.
Yep, I will be on that as well. I think I have to. And like even the analysis kind of lines up as well. I mean, short notice for Dawson. Dawson's super dangerous, and they're going to, I think it's going to be a very fast-paced fight, and I could very well see either guy gassing out. Mark Madsen, his cardio's looked a little bit better lately, but, in the Guida fight, he didn't wrestle at all. And then in the Vince Pichel fight, he kind of just had his way. I don't think it's going to be as easy against a guy like Dawson. So, yeah, fight doesn't go to decision, plus 155. That really, really does stick out.
Yeah, it absolutely does. The analytics really do love it. And we've got a decent sample size of fights here at the UFC level of 12 fights where they're finishing into the distance 50% of the time. We don't usually get a 10% break there, especially with a guy with an 89% finish rate as a pro. So I like that spot.
Yeah, by the way, Grant Dawson's knockout loss came to Hugh the Wolverine Pulley.
Hugh Pulley, huh?
Yeah.
I don't know if he's any good. What year was that?
He knocked out Jason Witt back in the day, Hugh Pulley.
Really? Oh, if you knock out Witt, then you got bricks for hands, dude. Nobody knocks out Jason Witt.
No, it was in 2016. I think it was elbows to the side of the head when Dawson was going in for a takedown.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So like Travis Brown elbows. Yeah. And Dawson will be going in for those takedowns, man. Sure. And Madsen's got a nice little guillotine. It's going to be interesting. This is a great fight. Super high level fight. In my opinion, the highest level fight on the card by a fucking mile.
Oh yeah. It's the best fight by a good margin. Yep.
Absolutely.
All right. Oh boy. Next we have Chase Sherman going against Josh Parisian.
Let's do Nuerdanbieke versus Maness first.
Okay, gotcha. We have Nuerdanbieke going against Nate Maness. We have the fight goes to decision minus 190. The fight doesn't go to decision is plus 155. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think Nuerdanbieke wins a decision here. Nate Maness really impressed me in his last fight. I mean, surviving the full 3 rounds against Umar Nurmagomedov. Nate Maness is next level tough. He got knocked out by Tony Gravely. He came back to life out of nowhere. He almost got finished by Johnny Munoz Jr., was able to survive there. Again, was able to survive against Umar. So, yeah, I think he's able to survive here against Nuerdanbieke. I'm kind of leaning Nuerdanbieke by decision. I was kind of interested to see what, like, the Maness finish only was, but they are all over it and more. Nate Maness finish only is minus 145. So, this is a fight where I do lean the fight goes to decision. But like I said last night, Weezy, I'm done betting on Nate Maness fights. I have lost money every single time. I'm not doing it. I'm not betting on this fight, but my lean would be that fight goes decision, but I'm not touching it.
Yeah, my lean here is definitely the fight goes. I don't think Nuerdanbieke is finishing anybody really at this level. 0 of 2 wins inside the distance, 0 of 1. So he's went to decision in all 3 of his UFC fights. And I also think that Nuerdanbieke is going to have the same kind of game plan that Munoz did and that Nurmagomedov had against Maness. And if that's the case, those are Maness fights that went to decision. He's only had 4 fights at the UFC level. 2 of them have went to decision. It was against the grapplers, the guys that were trying to take him down. The fights that didn't were the ones where he boxed with Gravely and where he boxed with who's the other bum that he beat?
Luke Sanders.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Luke Sanders, man. Luke Sanders is hell unleashed for about 6.5 minutes, and then it's all over. So, yeah, I like the fight goes here. I like Nuerdanbieke by decision. Dude, if Umar Nurmagomedov isn't finishing Nate Maness, how shocked would you be if Tagir went out there and actually finished this dude? I mean, I think Tagir by decision probably is the best look for this fight, but Maness does have almost all of that finishing equity. Yeah, dude, laying minus 190 and then seeing Maness land a big shot and sleep Ulan which is absolutely possible with the power that this kid carries, and especially if he makes that weight cut, that's another thing too that we got to talk about here is the weight cut. We could see Maness actually get finished here if this weight cut is absolutely brutal on him. So, now I'm thinking because of the weight cut, I wouldn't even bet that fight goes to decision. I'd need to get a much better number on that.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point. I'm not touching this fight. I'm down with the Maness fights. I'm sick of losing money on him, so I'm gonna sit back and watch, and I'll let other people try to figure this guy out. I mean, I can't figure this guy out. I don't think he's that great, but he keeps coming out here and just getting the wins. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I won't be touching it.
Yeah, I will not. A great man once said, "If you can't beat him, quit." Because you're not going to beat him, And sometimes, like that's what I did. Victor Henry fights, I'm done. I'm not betting on him. I'm not betting against him. Abdul Razak Al Hassan fights, I'm done. I'm not betting on that dude. I'm not betting against him. And I can't even bet the time props. I even get those wrong. So it's like sometimes the best thing to do is just realize, you know what, this dude's got my number. I'm getting his fights wrong. Let's just move on to the next one. And that's a great, great long-term strategy for being profitable.
Yeah, like I'm done betting. I think we both said we're done betting Corey McKenna as well.
Oh, after that, yeah. I mean, she looked fantastic against Granger.
She did. Yeah, man. But yeah, that's Nate Maness is on my shit list for sure. But he's a good fighter. We'll see. I'm looking forward to watching the fight, but not betting it. All right. Next we'll move on to a heavyweight fight. We have Josh Parisian. I can't find it. Do they have it out on? Oh, there it is. Okay. Josh Parisian going against Chase Sherman. So they have the fight goes decision plus 250. The fight doesn't go to decision is minus 325. I was kind of hoping for like a sneaky fight doesn't go to decision, heavyweight fight type thing. Last week we got one with Delima. Arlovsky fight doesn't go to decision was good plus money for some reason. This time we have to lay a ton of chalk, and I'm not laying a ton of chalk on this. I mean, honestly, Weezy, if anything, it's the fight goes here. It's the over 1.5 here. If anything, I could see a sloppy, greasy, heavyweight over type sweaty situation. So I'm not laying minus 325 on the fight. It doesn't go to decision here. I'm not parlaying it. It would be fight goes, if anything, but I just don't really see myself betting on this fight as a whole. But I see that the numbers might like that fight goes.
Yeah, I like the fight goes. The numbers like the fight goes. But, we have to look at these career numbers, and they're pretty impressive, man. I mean, 28 of 31 combined wins inside the distance, 9 of 15 losses inside the distance. So these guys, professional fights, are finishing inside the distance 80% of the time. But, that line is appropriately priced if you compare it to that number, Brady, because it's 76.47%. That fight doesn't go to decision. You're not getting any value there. And then if you look at the UFC numbers, it's completely different. 63.16%, 12 of 19 fights, 54% in their losses, 75% in their wins. But yeah, 63%, you're paying 76. It's 13.71% more than what the divisional benchmark is, and 13.31% more than what these guys' finish rate is at the UFC level. So that is definitely overpriced. And then it's Parisian and Sherman. Can you count on either of these guys to finish anybody? Josh Parisian talked about when he first came on the Contender Series, his best asset was his unbreakable will. And he's been finished a few times, but the dude is tough as fuck, man. There's no quit in that dude anywhere. He's going to keep fighting. It doesn't matter if he's bleeding. It doesn't matter if he's injured. There's just no quit in him. And Chase Sherman's he's a good boxer. He can stay defensively responsible. It's when he gets taken down that he's in the most trouble. And you know what? Chase has got pretty good takedown defense, and Josh Parisian's got not great takedowns. So I could see this being a greasy one that goes the full 3 rounds, not unlike the Waldo Cortez Acosta Jared Vanderaa fight the other day. That went the full 3. That was a similar fight goes to decision number, and I was actually looking at that one because neither one of them is this fantastic finisher at the UFC level. These guys are finishing 90% overall, but when you look at the UFC level, these guys are finishing at a 75% rate, which is 15% lower than the overall numbers. And we got to remember, like, these guys have fought some shitty fighters. We went through it yesterday on Stat Diggers. The combined UFC record of Josh Parisian's 4 opponents is 0 wins and 10 losses. You know, so if he were to beat Chase Sherman, that guy would have 4 more UFC wins than the 4 previous guys that he beat. You know, so I think plus money at plus 250 is a good look here. I'll even look at that over 2.5 because I could see these guys getting tired late and maybe getting a late finish, especially if Parisian does get a takedown or if he absorbs just too many strikes. But I'm going to be looking to get that over 2.5, hopefully at something maybe like around plus 225 or something like that. That's what I'm going to be looking for.
Yeah, I'm gonna be waiting for that over 1.5. I should have bet it in the freaking Vanderaa fight. I almost did, but I didn't want to have any money on the fight. Was my excuse for not betting it. But yeah, we'll see if it's around like even money for that over 1.5. I'm probably gonna look at that. I can easily see this one squeaking over that over 1.5, and I could even see it going over 2.5, and you're gonna get great plus money on that 2.5 as well.
Yeah, the numbers like it, you know, but obviously you got to remember when you're betting a heavyweight fight to go the distance, you know, you're going to be disappointed a lot of the time. But when you're getting those big fat plus numbers and you keep it in perspective, it's like, hey, I've only got to be right 4 out of 10 times. And if I'm pulling that off, shit, man, that's a nice 10 to 15% return on investment with these 28.57% implied probabilities that you're getting on a plus 250. It's a fat number.
Yep, definitely is. All right, we'll move on to the next fight. We have the co-main event. We have Daniel Rodriguez going against Neil Magny. We got the fight goes to decision, minus 210. The fight doesn't go to decision, plus 120. This was another one of those finish-only props I was looking out for, and BetOnline has it at minus 325. So can't really get there, but I don't know. I mean, this one is a weird one because Daniel Rodriguez, he's a decent finisher. Neil Magny has been finished quite a few times, but what would really keep me off of a finish bet personally would be just the toughness and durability of Daniel Rodriguez. This guy's never been knocked out, not in the cage, not in the street, not in prison, never. He's a BJJ black belt, never been submitted either. So I think most of the finishing upside is on the Rodriguez side here, but I don't know. Anything sticking out here, Weezy?
Yeah, what's sticking out is that the bookie is definitely shading this towards non-violence, right? We've got a 67% implied probability for the fight goes to decision here, but if we compare these guys, they're going to decision 57% of the time, and that's in a 35-fight sample size, right? 66% for Rodriguez, 53% for Magny. So 57% compared to 67% on the line is a big overpayment by 10.6% there and 16% higher than the benchmark, which for this division is 51.42%. So non-violence, significantly overpriced. And it's not just overpriced compared to the benchmark. It's overpriced compared to these guys' ability to be able to finish fights at the UFC level. So if we go over here to the non-violent side at plus 170, it looks pretty interesting. And then we can look at it stylistically and say, man, Daniel Rodriguez didn't look great in great physical shape the last time out. Evidently, he's coming off of some kind of a staph infection, too. And this fight was supposed to take place a couple of weeks ago, and it's been postponed. How is he going to look trying to make 170? Because I don't think Magny's taking this fight at 180, dude. That would not be smart of him. Why should he let this guy Rodriguez not cut weight when clearly it's Magny who has the better conditioning and ability to be able to push a pace? So this is a tough one, dude. It really is. I don't know where Daniel Rodriguez is at this point. I'd want to see him on the scale. But for instance, if Daniel looks like death on the scale, I think plus 170 being underpriced by 11.55% in comparison to the benchmark, which is sitting at about 48.5%. And underpriced by almost 6% when we compare it to the 43% finish rate or 42.86% finish rate of these guys combined at the UFC level. It looks like a cheeky play, but right now it's just a giant stay away from me.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Staying away myself. All right. Now we have the main event. Another one we kind of talked about last night in terms of maybe liking some violence here. Was kind of disappointed when I saw the opener to the fight doesn't go to decision, which is a shame. On Bet Online, they have the fight doesn't go to decision at -115. The fight goes to decision at -115. They did the same exact thing for the Batista fight. Looking on 5 Dimes, they have the fight doesn't go to decision at +105, which I would not mind at all. And the fight goes to decision at -135. But yeah, -115. It's not getting me out of bed here. I'm not touching that -115. But yeah, I do lean violence. I think Lemos early, Rodriguez late is very much in play. Lemos has never been 5 rounds, never seen the 4th, never seen the 5th. We've seen her slow down in the second round of some fights. In the Hill fight, she looked tired in the second round. In Leslie Smith fight, she was tired in the second round. So yeah, I would lean violence here, but I'm not touching -115. I'm hoping some other books get out some better prices here.
Yeah, and I'd like to get plus money too, dude. If we look at the 5-round analytics for the women's strawweight division, we've only got 21 fight sample size, and they're finishing inside the distance about 47% of the time. So that tells us, like, if we're going to get a line that's priced right on that benchmark, we're probably going to get, or maybe +110, +105, something in that neighborhood. We're paying -115 here. But stylistically, we've never seen Lemos go 5 rounds. We've seen Lemos struggle with her conditioning and pacing. And Lemos has got a ton of power early in fights and a ton of finishing equity. So it'd be nice to get that number a little bit closer to 50% implied probability here instead of paying 53.5%. But the fact that Lemos has never been 5 rounds, the fact that Lemos has an 83% finish rate in her wins and a 100% finish rate in her losses, and at the UFC level, you've got a pretty good killer be killed fighter here for the women's strawweight division at 6 of 8 fights finishing inside the distance. I think I would have to lean towards the fight doesn't go to decision, but unfortunately, it's just a little bit overpriced in comparison to that 47% benchmark by about 6%, but still bettable. But I'd like to see where it opens on all these other sites as well, because this is one of the only lines that's open right now. And I think we might be able to get some plus money here. And I think if we get it at plus money, it's a bet I'll definitely be making.
Yeah, I think Bet Online kind of shit the bed on some of these props. Like, I don't know what's going on with them, but they kind of shit the bed on some of these. Like even 5 Dimes has a +105 out there for the fight doesn't go. I would like that +105.
That looks a lot better to me. At +105, the difference in implied probability is about 5%. That's a big deal. We're talking 48.78% for the implied probability at +105 when the finish rate is 47.62%. So you're within 1% there. That tells you that it's a very, very fairly priced line. In addition to that, Lemos savage finisher, Lemos not great conditioning, never been 5 rounds. I do like that.
Yep. So we'll have to see if any other books get out that plus money as well. Because I'll be hopping on that. That's a spot that really does stick out to me. I think stylistically makes a lot of sense. But yeah, we did it. We went through all 12 fights here. Kind of go through the spots that really stuck out to you, and we'll see if we can come out with a PP.
Yeah, Vidal Pasquale. What stood out there was that we shouldn't bet the fight. Candelario fight. I just didn't. I like the fight goes. I like the over 2.5 there, because of Candelario's durability, right? Munoz Sholinian. There's just not much there, dude. The fight goes is a little bit of an overpayment. The fight doesn't go. Definitely a better look, but I don't know if we can count on any finishing equity from Sholinian here, so it's a little bit worrisome. Viana Fry fight doesn't go at +200 is a nice plus number. Batista Lopez fight doesn't go to decision at -115, I think is a good look. Maverick Young +100 fight doesn't go, I think is a solid look. The Nuerdanbieke fight doesn't go to decision at -230, I think is potentially parlayable. And I also liked that Beckov fight goes to decision at -190, but Dude, honestly, dude, there's not a lot of parlayable shit. I don't like parlaying big plus money numbers. And the ones that are juiced this week, I'm not even a believer in the minus 325 for the Sherman Parisian fight doesn't go to decision. I don't want to count on either one of these guys having finishing equity, especially at that line. What do you think is parlayable here? What do you think? Because like I like Madsen Dawson at plus 155 for fight doesn't go. I like fight doesn't go for Viana at plus 200. I like the over 1.5 for Sherman Parisian. Maybe that could be a nice little parlay piece for us.
Okay. Yeah, I think the over 1.5 for Sherman Parisian would be good. But outside of parlay pieces, I don't know. I mean, I like the Viana, maybe inside the distance by sub. I do like the Batista Lopez fight doesn't go. I'm hoping to get it at plus money on a different book. I like the Maverick fight doesn't go to decision. I like the Dawson fight doesn't go to decision. I like the Lemos Rodriguez fight doesn't go to decision. Hopefully, hoping to get in a plus money, but not really anything like as a parlay piece though. I guess the only parlay piece that sticks out to me is that that over in the Parisian fight, but we don't even have a line for that.
We don't even have a line for that. So why don't we hold off on the parlay and just say we like violence in the main event. We like potentially fight goes or an over 1.5 for Sherman Parisian. We like violence from Madsen Dawson under 2.5 or fight doesn't go. We like that first round sub or that fight ends in round 1 for Minner. You know, we also like the Batista Lopez violence, the Viana Fry violence, and that's about it.
Yep, sounds good to me. And yeah, hopefully all these fights stay on. I know we just freaking lost the Almeida fight, but honestly, I mean, we all knew it was going to happen. Almeida was going to shave the ass of Maxime Grishin. So, I mean, we didn't really need to see that fight, but it's whatever. So, yeah, 12 fights. It should be a fun card. It should be a kind of sketchy card. So, I'm looking forward to it. WEEZY, let the people know where you got going throughout the rest of the week. I know you're going live tomorrow for Just a Tip. Let them know what else you got going on.
Yeah, 10 o'clock tomorrow night, Just the Tip on Uncle WEEZY's channel. And on Wednesday, you and I, Brady, will be doing the DFS show with Gordo and Monk. And then on Wednesday night, in addition to that, on my channel, I'll be doing Ask WEEZY for this event. This is a rough one, you guys. You know, keep your powder dry for next week at UFC 281. We told you what we liked here. I think there's some spots that are sticking out, but I don't think this is a week where you want to have like 10 or 15 units down. Maybe keep it to about half of what you normally go with.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Short and sweet this week for me again. Yeah, because next week we have a good card. Good card with good fights. This fight card is a little bit iffy to say the least. But yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like on your way out. Subscribe to the channel as well. We will talk to you guys very soon. My prediction video will be out hopefully sometime tomorrow. But yeah, guys, best of luck for UFC Vegas 64, and we'll talk to you soon. See you guys.